about Reese's Pieces. Y'all give me.
Days later, there was a meeting at Sandringham. I don't remember who called it the Sandringham Summit. Someone in the press, I suspect. On my way there, I got a text from Marco about a story in the Times. Willie was declaring that he and I were now separate entities. I put my arm around my brother all our lives, and I can't do that anymore, he said. Meg had gone back to Canada to be with Archie, so I was on my own for this summit. I got there early, hoping to have a quick chat with Granny. Once there, Willie looked at me as if he planned to murder me. Hello, Harold. He sat across from me. Separate entities, indeed. When all participants had arrived, we shifted to a long conference table with Granny at the head. Before each chair was a royal notepad and pencil. Option 1 was continuance of the status quo. Meg and I don't leave. Everyone tries to go back to normal. Option 5 was full severance. No royal role. No working for Granny, and total loss of security. Option 3 was somewhere in between, a compromise, closest to what we'd originally proposed. I told everyone assembled that above all, I was desperate to keep security. See, Harry, pause, Harry, that's not how life works. You can't have what you want without sacrifice. And listen, you know what they say about them pretty girls. Them pretty girls be the craziest. Okay? Them fine boys, oh, they be the most off the hook. And some of y'all be like, Prince Harry ain't fine. Shut up. Stop talking to me. You don't know what you're talking about. Prince Harry is fine as shiz just because he's a ginger. Pause. Let me tell you something else. When I was a PO, I'm telling you, the dudes who were the most dangerous were the most attractive. On the days that we had, because we had to separate them motherfuckers from the rest of the people on probation. I told you, supervised the most dangerous young men in a particular area. Okay? That was my job. That's what I did. Right? And I'm telling you this, baby, that room, the waiting room, the lobby, whatever you want to call it, on my day, it was full of fine-ass little boys. The pretty girls, they be nuts. That's what they say about the pretty girls. But I'm telling you, it's the same thing for them attractive boys. I told everyone assembled that above all, I was desperate to keep security. That was what worried me the most. My family's physical safety. I wanted to prevent a repeat of history, another untimely death like the one that had rocked this family to its core 23 years ago, and from which we were still trying to recover. I'd consulted with several palace veterans, people who knew the inner workings of the monarchy and its history, and they all said option 3 was best for all parties. Meg and I living elsewhere part of the year, continuing our work, retaining security, returning to Britain for charities, ceremonies, events. Sensible solution, these palace veterans said, and eminently doable. But the family, of course, pushed me to take option 1, barring that they would only accept option 5, meaning either you're going to do what you're supposed to do, period. If you're going to do what you was born to do, or you're going to get the fuck out of here. There is no option 3. The people pay you to be Prince Harry. They don't give a F about who you marry. You could marry Mumra. You could marry Mumra from Thundercats. They don't give a shit. Because once you marry Mumra is going to have to do what the people say also. If the people pay you, you need to be available to the people. We discussed the 5 options for nearly an hour. At last, a draft was handed out. a statement the palace would soon be releasing, announcing implementation of option 5. So Harry, you didn't leave the castle, brother. Your ass got fired. Either you was going to do 1 or 5. You said no to 1 because 1, we don't need no paper. Just get the F on. 5, you fired. You got fired. Because you talking about we chose to leave the castle. No, the castle chose to leave you, her. Wait, I'm confused. You've already drafted a statement before any discussion announcing option 5? Yeah. Because either you're going to do what we want you to do or you're going to get the fuck out. That's how it is on any job, Harry. There was some discussion at this point of option 3. Or was it option 2? It was all starting to give me a headache. They were wearing me down. I didn't bloody care which option we adopted so long as security remained in place. That's not a part of option 5. You cannot hurry. No, baby. That's not how it works. They told you option 1 or option 5. That God bless the child that's got his own. That's got his own. You got to remember this. You are not the only being that's owned. Them daggone athletes, all of them are owned by one rich motherfucker. An NBA player can be comfortable in his position and with his mates. But anytime that one rich mother hunchy say, you know what? He ain't performing like he used to. Call up another rich mother hunchy, okay? Tell him I want to trade. Trade. Like a pair of shoes. Like a gold chain. Harry, you ain't no better. Now, I don't know if Harry gets paid like some of these NBA players do, but I'm sure all that you need is given. Okay, so Harry, girl, they were wearing me down. I didn't bloody care which option we adopted so long as security remained in place. I pleaded for continuation of the same armed police protection I'd had and needed since birth. I'd never been allowed to go anywhere without 3 armed bodyguards, even when I was supposedly the most popular member of the family, and now I was the target, along with my wife and son, of unprecedented hate. And the leading proposal under discussion called for total abandonment. Madness. Do you not recall the story that you said in the beginning about your great aunt or granny? And her subjects was banging them things at her? Do you not remember that? Baby, now that's hate, baby. As the meeting came to a close, there was a basic general agreement. The many fine granular details of this hybrid arrangement would be sorted out over a 12-month transitional period, during which we'd continue to have security. Granny rose. We all rose. She walked out. Baby, you fired. You fired, baby. I jumped into the car and was immediately told that a strongly worded denial had been put on by the palace, squashing that morning's bullying story. You weren't bullied, baby. Denial was signed by none other than me and Willie, my name attached by faceless others to words I'd never even seen, let alone approved. I was stunned. Now, that was wrong. They forged your signature, and put out a statement on your behalf. Girl, they ain't got time for you. I went back to Frogmore. From there, remotely over the next few days, I took part in the drafting of a final statement, which went out January 18th, 2020. The palace announced that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex had agreed to step back. We fired your ass. That we'd no longer formally represent the Queen and that our HRH titles would be in abeyance during this transitional year, and that we'd offered to reimburse the sovereign grant for reimbursements to Frogmore Cottage. Affirm no comment on the status of our security. I flew back to Vancouver. For a few days, I didn't feel fully back. Part of me was still in Britain, still at Sandringham. I spent hours glued to my phone and the internet monitoring the fallout. Stayed off the internet. Cephas? Pause. Cephas got poor self-control. He can't handle it. That's why he need to stay off the internet. Cephas? Make no mistake. It's an insult, cried the Daily Mail, which convened a Fleet Street jury to consider our crimes. Among them was the Queen's Express secretary, who concluded with his fellow jurors that we should hereafter expect no money. And why should you, Cephas? I shook my head. No mercy. The language of war. The question was where to live. Ooh. I'm gonna expound later. We considered Canada. But how you gonna pay the bills, Cephas and Reese? How you gonna pay the bills? You ain't got no money. What you gonna do? Write a book. Okay. We considered Canada. By and large, it had been good to us. It had already come to feel like home. We could imagine spending the rest of our lives there. If we could just find a place the press didn't know about, we said, Canada might be the answer. We were taking first steps, trying to be positive. Doesn't really matter where we live, we said, so long as the palace fulfills its obligation. And what I felt was its implicit promise to keep us safe. I don't know about that. Because, okay, they said in the interim of a year, we got you. After that, it's on you, Cephas. Meg asked me one night, you don't think they'd ever pull our security, do you? Never. Not in this climate of hate, and not after what happened to my mother. Cephas, girl, I love you, Cephas. I love you. I do. And your naivete is charming to a point. So you know Cephas is a maniac, okay? You know he can't stay his ass off the internet, right? So he got a dude to help him with the statistics. The statistics said that, hurry. The threat for you is higher than any other royal employed by the Queen. That is bullshit. What about that lady that you said, Cephas, that her subjects banged them things at her? That is crazy to me that you acting like you forgot what you said in the fucking beginning, Cephas. What is happening here? Is he losing more of his mind as he writes this freaking book? I rang Paul. He wouldn't take my calls. Just then, I got a text from Willie. Can you speak? Great. I was sure my older brother would be sympathetic, that he'd step up. He said it was a government decision, nothing to be done. In the midst of all the darkness came the horrible news that my old friend Caroline Flack had taken her life. That's what some of you guys had put down in the comments. She couldn't stand it anymore. Apparently, the relentless abuse at the hands of the press year after year had finally broken her. In March 2020, the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic, and Canada began to discuss the possibility of closing its borders. We were having a chat with Tyler Perry, another Virgo. Captain Save-A-Ho, you know he got mad money, Chad. Cephas and Reese there, explaining the story to the Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry like, wait, you know I'm a rich black man. I got a house over there somewhere. Where is it at? In Los Angeles. You can stay there. There's plenty of security. Just go over there. Within a week, Tyler's house felt like home. I know it did. He called that house Xanadu. I can believe it. Eventually, we found a place priced at a steep discount just up the coast outside Santa Barbara. Lots of room, large gardens, a climbing frame, even a pond with koi carp. So we pulled together a down payment, took out a mortgage, and in July 2020, we moved in. The move itself required only a couple of hours. Everything we owned fitted into 13 suitcases. That first night, we had a quiet drink and celebration, roasted a chicken, went to bed early. All was well, we said. And yet, Reese was still under loads of stress. There was a pressing issue with her legal case against the tabloids. The Mail was up to its usual tricks. The first crack at offering a defense had been patiently ridiculous. So now they were trying a new defense, which was even more ridiculous. They were arguing that they'd printed Meg's letter to her father because of a story in People magazine which quoted a handful of Meg's friends anonymously. The tabloids argued that Meg had orchestrated these quotes, used her friends as de facto spokesman, and thus the Mail had every right to publish her letter to her father. 5 months later, Christmas 2020, we took Archie to find a Christmas tree, a pop-up lot in Santa Barbara. We bought one of the biggest spruces they had. We brought it home, set it up in the living room. Magnificent. We stood back, admiring, counting our blessings, new home, healthy boy. Plus, we'd signed several corporate partnerships which would give us the chance to resume our work, to spotlight the causes we cared about, to tell the stories we felt were vital, and to pay for our security. Okay. The palace announced that a review had been conducted of our roles and of the agreement reached in Sandringham. Henceforth, we were stripped of everything but a few patronages. February 2021. They took it all away. I thought even my military associations. I'd no longer be Captain General of the Royal Marines, a title handed down by my grandfather. I'd no longer be permitted to wear my ceremonial military uniform. Yeah, that's heartbreaking. I told myself they could never take away my real uniform or my real military status, but still. Furthermore, the statement continued, we'd no longer be doing any service whatsoever for the Queen. Yeah, the Queen wants to disassociate herself, just in case you niggas out there together singing at cafeterias with a microphone wearing They made it sound as if there'd been an agreement between us. There was nothing of the sort. We pushed back in our own statement released the same day, saying we'd never cease living a life of service. This new slapdown from the palace was like petrol on a bonfire. Frogmore Gardens. Hours after Grandpa's funeral, I'd been walking with Willie and Paul for about half an hour. But it felt like one of those days-long marches the Army put me through when I was a new soldier. I was beat. After the rout, we'd arrived back where we'd begun. Paul and Willie were still claiming not to know why I'd fled Britain, still claiming not to know anything, and I was getting ready to walk away. Then one of them brought up the press. They asked about my hacking lawsuit. They still hadn't asked about Meg, because they don't like the bitch. They still hadn't asked about Meg, but they were keen to know how my lawsuit was going, because that directly affected them. Still ongoing? Still ongoing. Suicide mission, Paul mumbled. Maybe, but it's worth it. Willie was still talking. Paul was talking over him, and I could no longer hear a word they said. I was already gone, already on my way to California. A voice in my head saying, enough death, enough. When is someone in this family going to break free and live? So you want everybody else in the family to give up their royal privileges to hang out with you. Anyway, y'all, he ends the book with the birth of his daughter. Okay?